Hi, hello, and welcome back to F1 Challenge Career Mode. My name is Mephisto, and today we're heading up to Malaysia for round 2 of the 2002 Formula 1 season. Let's get started.
Located approximately 80 kilometers south of Kuala Lumpur, the modern Sepang circuit combines two notable straights with a demanding mix of slow and medium-speed turns. This dedicated motorsports facility is the first of a new breed of circuit capable of housing over 100,000 spectators.
We jump straight into qualifying where we're having quite the hard time. This is my first flying lap and I messed it up royally. Regardless, I'm going to complete it. So here we are now coming around to finish the lap. Obviously it's going to be quite slow, and that's a 148.602, about 8 seconds off pole time. So we need to pick up the pace and try not to make any more mistakes. Now we are coming around to finish our second flying lap, and I have to say that this time I was blazing through the lap. We crossed the line in a staggering 140.637. Unfortunately, I was unable to beat this time, but I was always within 3/10.
Hello there. Welcome to Malaysia for round 2 of the 2002 FIA Formula 1 World Championship. The weather, as so often is the case here, is just wonderful. Schumacher first. Kimi Raikkonen second. Montoya just managed to get the edge over his championship rival, the Renault driver. David Coulthard fourth. The Renault driver performed brilliantly in qualifying to line up fifth. Button looked a carbon copy of his teammate. He starts alongside in sixth. Ralf Schumacher seventh. Nick Heidfeld eighth. Rubens Barrichello ninth. Giancarlo Fisichella 10th. Jacques Villeneuve 11th. Irvine 12th. Webber 13th. Frentzen 14th. Philippe Massa 15th. Sarlo 16th. Takuma Sato 17th. Panis 18th. Pedro de la Rosa 19th. Bernaldi 20th. McNeish 21st. Alex Young 22nd.
And here we are on the grid for the start of the Malaysian Grand Prix. We're starting from 5th, that's absolutely wonderful. Montoya is right in front of us, Button is next to us, we have 5 red lights and we're off. To sort of a mediocre start, and once again, just like the Australian Grand Prix, there is already an incident. What is going on in this 2002 season? Anyway, we've cleared Raikkonen, so we are now in P4, we have Coulthard in front, and there's yet another incident. Just what is going on here? Anyway, we might as well take a look at some replays. First off, we have the start itself. Everyone gets away from the grid quite well despite some contact at the back. We passed Raikkonen and it's quite rare for us to pass someone at the start, but we did it this time. And that there was a contact between Ralf Schumacher and Raikkonen. We are now on board with Felipe Massa. Mark Webber in the minority sat in front of him. Massa has a pretty good start compared to that of the Australian, and they make contact. But we're not done quite yet. As we approach turn 1, Enrique Bernoldi comes out of nowhere and crashes into the back of the Minardi. So that is our first retirement of the day. And now we're riding along with Ralf Schumacher. He's just behind Jenson Button. He goes to the inside, tries to pass both my teammate and Raikkonen. However, he ends up crashing into the rear of the McLaren, breaking its rear wing, and that is the second retirement for today. Quite a hairy start here at the Malaysian Grand Prix, very similar to our last race. And we are still chasing after Coulthard, who managed to pull a small gap on us, as there is yet another incident. And we're now riding with Frentzen in his arrows. He passes Villeneuve in the BAR and then crashes into the rear of the Ferrari of Rubens Barrichello, adding to the retirement list. I'm not going to complain, however. Fewer cars on the track means fewer things we need to worry about. And there is yet another incident. I'm sorry game, but I thought we were in Malaysia, not in Monaco. Anyway, let's see the replay. And here we have Fisichella and Villeneuve coming through turn 5. Villeneuve is having a look at Fisichella. He tries to go around him but ends up hitting him instead. So that's 4 retirements in just one lap. 18 cars left on the track at the moment. Hopefully there won't be any more incidents for a while. Again, I'm not complaining, but I'd much rather have someone to race against. Otherwise it will just feel like a private test day or something. I actually remember a few years ago I was doing a 100% race around Monaco, and around 2/3 of the way I was the only one left. It felt quite odd, really. But anyway, we are now coming around to finish lap 1 of the Malaysian Grand Prix, and we're catching up to David Coulthard. It looks like we might be able to pass him, and yes, we got him on the brakes, so we are now in 3rd, which is very encouraging. We might even be able to win this race. Coming through turn 5, Montoya managed to pull quite a gap, whilst Coulthard is right on our gearbox. And as we turn in for this right-hander, we make contact with Coulthard and we fly off the track. This is going to be very costly. We were about 8 tenths behind Montoya, now we are 5 seconds. So we really need to push now in order to close in the gap. Anyway, here's a replay. Coming through turn 5, then turn 6, Coulthard tries to squeeze through but there's no room. So we make contact and lose a bunch of time in the process. This is really going to hurt us. And looking at the replay, I think it was Coulthard's mistake. But if you think otherwise, let me know in the comments below. Anyway, let's start pushing. This is lap 3 and I was pushing really hard to try and catch up to Montoya and Schumacher. And I clipped the curbing through turn 6 and that sends me into a spin and eventually into the wall, breaking my front wing, so we now need to pit in early, and in fact, it's so early that we'll be forced to do another stop towards the end. This is so frustrating. However, this time it is my fault. I was pushing harder than I really should have, and that came around to bite me. Anyway, we are now in the pits to change our front wing, and since we're here, we might as well take on some fuel and change our tires as well, even though the tires could probably last us until our next stop. These tires are nowhere near as fragile as the Pirellis used today. And to be honest, they shouldn't really be. But anyway, we are now rejoining the track. We are just behind Pedro de la Rosa, and behind us is Alex Young, so we're somewhere in the midfield. As we're about to start lap 5, we catch up to a group of cars. We pass de la Rosa in the Jaguar. Next is Olivier Panis, who gave us quite a hard time in Australia. He just didn't want to be lapped by us. However, this time around it's going to be for position, and I'll be damned if I don't take it. He tries to squeeze us a bit. Luckily the track is really wide. Panis overtakes McNish and so will we. I use a bit of his slipstream. The spoiled air makes the car a bit hard to control. McNish outbrakes us into turn 4 and I nearly lose the back there. You need to be quite careful. A few corners later, as we are coming down into the hairpin, we finally overtake Alan McNish, so we are now once again behind our former teammate. Let's try to force him into a mistake. No need though, because it seems that the Renault engine has a bit more power than the Honda. Next we have Mika Salo, who is around 12 seconds up the road. That's going to be quite tricky. We're still chasing after Salo, who is now some 8 seconds up the road, so we're definitely making some headway. And there is another incident. Haven't had one of those in a while. Anyway, let's have a look. Here we have the Jaguar of De La Rosa. He is coming through turn 6 and up through turn 7. McNish seems to have made contact with the BAR because he was sliding. That slowed him down, catching De La Rosa off guard and resulting in a collision. So now McNish is going to retire. And just as we cut back to our own race, the engineer informs me about Coulthard having some engine problems. So let's have a look. Here is Coulthard in the pits. His car is off the jacks, and as he leaves his pit box, his car bursts into flames. This is eerily similar to the 1994 German Grand Prix incident with Jos Verstappen, although Verstappen never left the pit box. They just finished refueling his Benetton when it went up in flames. That was a very scary moment. But enough of that, we are now 5 seconds down on Mika Salo. We are definitely catching up, and I almost lost the back there again. You really have to be careful there, and if you ask me, I think that hill is a bit too aggressive. I'm absolutely sure it's not so in real life. And we have another incident, so let's have a quick look, shall we? So here we have the replay. We see McNish and De La Rosa coming into the pits. Alan McNish goes around the McLaren, but De La Rosa drives right into it. That's a bit weird. Why didn't De La Rosa try to avoid the McLaren like McNish did? It really is weird. Anyway, we've reduced the gap to Salo to around 4 seconds now. as I mount the curb on the exit, which spins me around, causing me to lose even more time. This track hasn't been kind to us at all. However, it is starting to grow on me. I never really liked it in the past, but now I think it's kind of okay. And we have another incident. Here we have Nick Heidfeld leaving his pit box, and just like De La Rosa before him, he crashes into the McLaren of David Coulthard. There was one other incident involving Montoya, but I felt that it was getting a bit stale, so I'm not going to show that one. Suffice to say that Montoya leaves his pit box, hits Coulthard, and that is kind of it really. A bit later on, I catch up to a group of midfielders, including Salo and Heidfeld. They are peeling off into the pit, and now we have Takuma Sato to try to catch. And I don't know if you can see this, but my steering wheel is a bit crooked. That's because the suspension is a bit damaged, and I need to keep the wheel turned slightly to the right in order to go straight. Anyway, we are now on Takuma Sato's gearbox. I go a bit wide through turn 1 to avoid colliding with Sato, but we're back on his gearbox through turn 2. He gets a slightly better exit, however we are catching him through turn 3. Flick the car to the inside. We are through and up in P6. On lap 13, I finally had to come in again because I was running out of fuel. And because we only need about 6 laps worth of fuel, this should be a relatively short stop. Changing tires is fairly quick. It's the refueling bit that costs us time. That's actually quite slow, 10 seconds compared to our first stop, which was 8.6. Ah well, we'll have to find a way to recover lost time. We are now about 4 laps away from the checkered flag, and the sky has gotten really dark. This might shake things up a bit if it starts raining in the closing stages of the race. And we are about to lap one of the arrows. By the way, because the AI also went for 2 stops, we've managed to climb up into P4. Unfortunately, we didn't have enough time to catch up to Montoya, but we do finish in P4, and all things considered, this is quite good. And look at that, Jenson Button finished in second, and I weaved the car in both frustration and joy. Frustration because I felt that I could have won the race were it not for the extra pit stop, and joy because at least I managed to finish in the points. And if I would have won, it would have been a Renault 1-2. That would have been awesome, and would have consolidated our lead in the Drivers' Championship, which I think we just lost to Schumacher.
It's been a scintillating Malaysian Grand Prix. Let's take a look at the final results. Michael Schumacher first. Jenson Button second. Juan Pablo Montoya third. The Renault driver fourth. Irvine fifth. Heidfeld sixth. With the results confirmed, it's high time we updated the Drivers' Championship. Michael Schumacher takes over the lead in the Drivers' Championship.
So yeah, Michael Schumacher takes over the lead with 14 points. We are now in second with 13 points, just 1 point behind. Hopefully our next race will go a bit better. In third we have Montoya with 10 points, Button is fourth with 7 points, fifth is Ralf Schumacher with 3 points, in sixth we have Raikkonen and Irvine with 2 points, and in seventh we have Heidfeld with 1 point.
Renault increase their lead at the top of the Constructors' Championship. Ferrari are second, followed by the third place Williams.
Our team stays in the lead thanks to our teammate finishing second. We now have 20 points. Ferrari move up into second with 14 points. Williams drop down to third with 13 points. McLaren are fourth with 2 points, position which they share with Jaguar. And in fifth we have Sauber with 1 point. I really feel that we could have won this race, but we had that incident with Coulthard on lap 2, lost a lot of time because of that. That in turn made me desperate. I started pushing beyond my limits, act which led to my crash on lap 3, which ultimately forced me to make 2 stops. If none of this would have happened, I'm pretty sure I could have won quite easily. Mainly because everyone else did 2 stops, whilst my original strategy was the usual 1 stop. But at least we finished in the points, so we haven't fallen far from the championship lead. Again, a brilliant finish from Jenson Button. I never would have thought. If he keeps it up like this, we might see his first Grand Prix win ahead of time. Anyway, next up is the Brazilian Grand Prix, where I'm hoping to score some points. Preferably 10. But we'll find out once we get there. Until then, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, stay sharp.